The village stirred with a palpable energy as the annual harvest festival unfolded beneath the golden rays of the setting sun. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and the air was thick with the aroma of roasted meats and sweet fruits. Villagers clad in vibrant fabrics danced to the rhythmic beat of drums, their laughter echoing through the sprawling marketplace. At the heart of the festivities stood Kofi, the spirited young son of the village chief, his eyes ablaze with excitement as he watched the revelry unfold. Despite the weight of responsibility that came with his lineage, Kofi relished this rare moment of joy and celebration, where the worries of the world seemed to fade away. Amidst the throng of dancers and vendors, Kofi's gaze fell upon a figure unlike any he had ever seen. A vision of grace and beauty, she moved with an ethereal grace that seemed to defy gravity itself. Her name was Nala, a maiden from a neighboring tribe with a lineage shrouded in mystery. As their eyes met across the bustling marketplace, time seemed to stand still, and the chaos of the festival melted away into insignificance. Driven by an irresistible impulse, Kofi found himself drawn towards Nala, his heart pounding in his chest with each step. He could feel the weight of centuries-old traditions pressing down upon him, warning him to stay within the confines of his station. But in that moment, none of it mattered. All he could see was Nala, the embodiment of everything he had ever dreamed of. As he approached her, Kofi was acutely aware of the whispers and stares that followed in his wake. The villagers spoke in hushed tones, their disapproval evident in every sidelong glance. But Kofi paid them no mind, his attention wholly consumed by the radiant maiden before him. "Forgive me for intruding," he said, his voice barely more than a whisper amidst the cacophony of the festival. "But I could not help but be drawn to your side." Nala's lips curved into a smile, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "There is no need for forgiveness," she replied, her voice a melody that resonated deep within Kofi's soul. "For I too have felt the pull of destiny guiding our paths together." In that moment, as the world spun around them in a kaleidoscope of color and sound, Kofi knew that his life would never be the same again. For in Nala's eyes, he saw a reflection of his own deepest desires, and he knew that he would stop at nothing to claim the love that fate had bestowed upon them. As the night descended upon the village, Kofi and Nala found themselves ensconced in a secluded corner of the marketplace, away from the prying eyes of their fellow villagers. The revelry continued unabated around them, but in that private sanctuary, they were cocooned in a world of their own making. With each passing moment, their bond deepened, their conversations flowing effortlessly like the gentle currents of a winding river. Kofi shared tales of his childhood adventures amidst the vast savannah, while Nala spoke of her own dreams and aspirations beyond the confines of their village. But beneath the surface of their light-hearted banter lurked a palpable tension, a silent acknowledgement of the forbidden desires that smoldered between them. They danced around the edges of their true feelings, afraid to speak the words that lay heavy upon their hearts. For Kofi, the weight of tradition bore down upon him like a suffocating blanket, threatening to extinguish the flame of passion that burned within him. He knew that his love for Nala defied all reason and logic, that it flew in the face of centuries-old customs and expectations. And yet, he could not bring himself to turn away from her, to deny the pull of destiny that drew them together. Nala, too, grappled with her own internal conflicts, torn between the yearning of her heart and the dictates of her upbringing. She had always been taught to honor the traditions of her people, to respect the boundaries that separated their world from that of their neighbors. And yet, in Kofi's arms, she found a freedom she had never known, a sense of belonging that transcended the boundaries of tribe and tradition. As the night wore on, the barriers between them began to crumble, their inhibitions melting away like dew beneath the morning sun. In the soft glow of flickering torches, they moved closer together, their bodies drawn magnetically towards each other until there was no space left between them. And then, in a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, their lips met in a tender embrace, sealing their forbidden desires with a kiss that ignited a firestorm of passion within them. In that fleeting instant, they defied the conventions of their world, shattering the barriers that had kept them apart and surrendering themselves to the all-encompassing power of love. The dawn broke over the village, casting long shadows across the bustling marketplace as the remnants of the harvest festival were swept away by the gentle morning breeze. Kofi and Nala lingered in the embrace of the baobab grove, their clandestine love affair hidden from prying eyes beneath the ancient branches. But even as they reveled in the bliss of their newfound connection, whispers of gossip began to circulate through the village like wildfire, spreading rumors of their forbidden romance. Eyes followed them wherever they went, and tongues wagged in disapproval, fueled by a potent blend of envy and resentment. Kofi and Nala found themselves the subject of scrutiny and suspicion, their every move scrutinized and dissected by those who viewed their love with scorn and contempt. But despite the mounting pressure, they refused to relinquish the bond that bound them together, drawing strength from each other's presence in the face of adversity. As the days turned into weeks, the whispers grew louder, reaching a fever pitch that threatened to engulf them in a maelstrom of scandal and shame. But still, Kofi and Nala clung to each other, their love a beacon of light in the darkness that threatened to consume them. In the quiet moments they stole together, hidden away from prying eyes, they reaffirmed their commitment to each other, vowing to defy convention and follow their hearts wherever they may lead. For they knew that their love was a force to be reckoned with, a flame that burned brighter with each passing day, defying all attempts to extinguish it. But even as they clung to each other with unwavering determination, a shadow loomed on the horizon, threatening to tear them apart and plunge their world into chaos. For beneath the surface of their idyllic village lay simmering tensions and long-standing rivalries, waiting to erupt into violence at the slightest provocation. And as the storm clouds gathered overhead, Kofi and Nala found themselves standing on the precipice of a choice that would shape the course of their lives forever. Would they succumb to the pressures of tradition and duty, or would they dare to defy the expectations of their world and forge their own path to happiness? Only time would tell, as the whispers in the shadows grew louder, heralding the arrival of a reckoning that would test the limits of their love and the strength of their resolve. Within the village, tensions simmered like a pot left unattended over the fire. Rival clans exchanged wary glances, their animosity hanging thick in the air like the heavy scent of rain before a storm. Kofi and Nala's clandestine romance had become a mere footnote in the village's collective consciousness, overshadowed by the looming specter of conflict. The village elders gathered in hushed council, their voices low as they debated the best course of action to preserve the fragile peace that had long held sway over their community. But beneath the veneer of diplomacy, alliances shifted like sand in the desert, as each clan sought to secure its own interest and safeguard its honor. Kofi watched with a heavy heart as his father, the village chief, navigated the treacherous waters of tribal politics, his brow furrowed with worry as he sought to maintain order in the face of mounting hostility. The weight of responsibility bore down upon him like a burden too heavy to bear, threatening to crush his spirit beneath its relentless weight. Meanwhile, Nala grappled with her own inner turmoil, torn between her loyalty to her own people and her burgeoning love for Kofi. She knew that the tensions between their tribes could tear them apart, yet she could not bring herself to abandon the man who had captured her heart so completely. As the days passed, the rift between the clans widened, fueled by a series of petty grievances and slights that fanned the flames of resentment into a raging inferno. Kofi and Nala found themselves caught in the crossfire, their love threatened by forces beyond their control. But even in the midst of chaos, a glimmer of hope remained, a flickering ember of possibility that refused to be extinguished. For Kofi and Nala knew that love was a force more powerful than any weapon, a beacon of light that could pierce even the darkest of shadows. And so, as the village teetered on the brink of war, they clung to each other with a fierce determination, their hearts united in defiance of the forces that sought to tear them apart. For they knew that as long as they had each other, they could weather any storm that threatened to engulf them, emerging stronger and more resilient than ever before. Amidst the turmoil that gripped the village, Kofi and Nala sought solace in the sheltering embrace of the ancient baobab grove. Here, beneath the sprawling branches that reached towards the heavens like gnarled fingers, they found sanctuary from the chaos that raged beyond its borders. The baobab trees stood as silent sentinels, their massive trunks bearing witness to the passage of countless generations. Within their hallowed midst, Kofi and Nala felt a sense of peace wash over them, as if the weight of the world had been lifted from their shoulders. As they wandered through the grove hand in hand, they spoke of their hopes and fears, their dreams and aspirations laid bare in the dappled sunlight that filtered through the dense canopy overhead. They shared secrets that had long been buried deep within their hearts, their words a testament to the depth of their connection. But beneath the surface of their idyllic sanctuary, the baobab grove held secrets of its own, ancient mysteries that whispered on the wind like voices from another time. Kofi and Nala listened intently, their senses attuned to the subtle rhythms of the natural world that surrounded them. As the hours slipped by unnoticed, they lost themselves in the timeless beauty of their surroundings, their worries and cares fading into insignificance against the backdrop of nature's splendor. Here in this enchanted grove, they were free to be themselves, unencumbered by the expectations of society or the pressures of tradition. And as they lay together beneath the sheltering branches, their bodies entwined like vines weaving through the underbrush, they knew that their love was a force of nature unto itself, boundless and unyielding in its intensity. For in the heart of the baobab grove, anything was possible, and the future lay spread out before them like an endless expanse of uncharted territory, waiting to be explored.